then we'll get started. First, we are recording. So if anyone does not want to be recorded or does not want to be involved, then now will be the time to to get off of the line. But we will be recording this session, and this session will also be utilized for future guidance for folks that were not able to join here live and in person. Um, Thank you for coming. This is our second um, MUREP Minority University Research and Education Project Small Business Technology Transfer uh, Initiative called MSTTR. We have a solicitation that went out a few weeks ago, and this is our pre-proposal teleconference call so that you can understand what's inside of the proposal, understand what are the next steps for you to being able to respond to the proposal, and then the timelines that are a part of getting selected and awarded. So thank you for coming. Next slide, please. And for all of the presenters, you can just say next slide and we'll manage that for you. So here's our agenda for today. I know we scheduled for an hour and a half. I do not think that this will take more than an hour unless you have several questions and answers. But as I mentioned, this is the second time we're doing this. So some of the questions we may have in our FAQs already. So today you're going to hear from Mr. Torrey Johnson from NASA headquarters leading the MUREP program. You'll also hear from Ms. Janelle Steele and Mr. Tom Stanley, which are with the SBIR STTR program. I'll give you an overview of what the initiative is. Then you'll hear from our grants person, Mr. Morris Hicks, and then you hear about our Inspires overview and how you actually go about responding to the opportunity from Ms. Beata Kozak. Okay, and then we'll have Q&A after that. So first up, our welcome and our NASA MUREP overview, Mr. Torrey Johnson out of NASA headquarters. He leads the Minority University Education and Research Project. Torrey, are you prepared?
Good day, good afternoon, or good
Okay.
morning, depending on where you are. Thanks, Rod. Can I get an okay on the sound?
I can hear you great. And then let me just say one thing before you start, Torrey. If you are not speaking, please mute your phone or your computer. We in this session we have the ability for your computers to be heard, so please mute if you. And then we're getting something in the chat, Torrey. We might need to speak up a little bit. I don't know if they're also saying that for me, but I will try to do the same thing. But we're ready for you, Torrey. We'll watch the chat for you.
Very good. Well, thank you, Rod. Again, my name is Torrey Johnson with the Office of STEM Engagement out of NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. I hope that you and your families or university colleagues and students are all doing well and appreciate your time in joining with us today. Briefly, this is a really great opportunity in collaboration with our partners in STTR. And so I'm very excited that we are able to do this effort again, even in this virtual space. So I'll be very brief in terms of an introduction of both the Office of STEM Engagement as well as the specific MUREP program. Next slide, please. And next. So for those that don't know, the STEM engagement efforts that go on at NASA are not solely within the Office of STEM Engagement, but overall, as an agency, our desire is to immerse students in NASA's work to inspire this next generation and to connect them to what we are doing as an agency via our missions. You see our strategic goals below. From left to right, we are creating unique opportunities for students. We are building a diverse future. I've been saying a current STEM workforce through authentic experiences. And then lastly, but not least important, are attracting diverse groups of students. And so that's why you folks are here today with another opportunity where we can engage and spark interest and provide connections and collaboration space. Next slide, please. So you see in front of you the strategy for STEM engagement. The items on the left we've just talked about, but what's new is really an emphasis on diversity and inclusion. working on broadening participation in a host of different arenas. And also equally important is this notion of how might we scale that which we're doing and increase the accessibility to NASA's subject matter experts in the community, in and around the neighborhood, in our local schools, so that we can drive engagement and folks can see a path forward in a STEM environment. Thank you. Next slide. So we have mission directorates. You see those on the left. These drive the requirements that happen with respect to STEM engagements. You see exploring the Earth. You see some of the work we're doing in aeronautics, human exploration. Those same goals that we have within STEM engagement embedded in the middle. And then the recipients of or beneficiaries on the right, K through 12, and then moving all the way through graduate. So the aim is to align what the missions are doing, to connect those to our goals, and ultimately for the benefit of students. Next slide. So you see here on this particular side, we still have the mission directorates and the students on the left and the right. Embedded in the middle are the programs. That's the space that I sit in with these four congressionally funded uh, efforts: Space Grant, which are the 52 consortia enabling STEM to be connected to universities and industries across the country; EPSCoR, which is focused on 28 specific economically challenged jurisdictions or states in the country; MUREP, which we'll talk about, focused exclusively or limited to minority serving institutions; and then Next Gen STEM, which is our K through 12 efforts. That next column shows some of the tools and platforms. We spend an extensive amount of time and effort around evaluation. How do we know we're successful? Additionally, working on strategic partnerships like the one that we're doing here with our colleagues in STTR. For those of you with students, internships and fellowships is a key area, and we'll continue to go. Next slide, please. I mentioned this briefly in terms of the beneficiaries, just so you know where the dollars are mapped. K through 12, you see part of our budget there. The majority of our resources, dollars wise, funding are going to institutions in the Space Grant and MUREP in the undergraduate space. And then there are some areas in graduate and postgraduate efforts as part of the budget. Next slide, please. So we'll go in a little more detail on the next slide regarding MUREP and why we actually have this efforts in response to uh, federal executive orders. You might have seen a number of these coming out under the Biden administration, but these have been in play for many years. The numbers change in terms of the executive order number. You see those on the left, and the targeted group of institutions or individuals. In this particular setting, you're seeing focus on historically Black colleges and universities, moving through Asian Pacific Islander, and then at the bottom talking about Black Americans. So these are executive orders. We have our funding to work with minority serving institutions and those underrepresented and underserved communities. Next slide, please. For MUREP, we utilize on the left a vision that says we're going to aid and enhance research, the technological and academic capabilities at MSIs. We do that through student learning experiences that are related to our NASA work. So it's got to be mutually beneficial. Um, we are looking to fund institutions that are going to be building up their capacity. You see the four pillars of investment. We focus heavily on the left side: research and infrastructure, capacity building. We utilize tools and curriculum development and providing other resources. You might hear some of those today, all for the benefit of students and through the utilization of partnerships and sustainability. We recognize that the funding that MUREP provides is not the only thing that you will be able to sustain yourself on, but we recognize that there are entry points. And so we want to create those connections for institutions with NASA so that they can continue great work and foster a STEM identity for their students at their respective institutions. Apologies for my throat. Next slide, please. So you see some links here for the NASA Office of STEM Engagement as well as NASA Express. That way you'd be able to see all that's going on within the STEM engagement space at NASA. Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, etc. All great ways to get connected and stay connected with us on the regular. You'll also hear later on today about the utilization of Inspires, where we post all of our opportunities. But at this time, I want to hand it over to Rod or our colleagues in STTR, Janelle, so that she can share more specifics about their portion of the opportunity. And then later, Rod will brief you all on the tenets of this particular funding opportunity. Thank you so much for your time. Be well.
Thank you, Tori. Okay, next slide. Next slide, I'm sorry. Okay, so now we're going to hear from Ms. Janelle Steele, who's Deputy Program Executive for SBIR STTR, as well as Tom Stanley, who's the STTR Technical Lead. He'll support me in my portion as well. Janelle, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Next slide. So we are again very happy to partner with Rod and Tori and the MUREP team to offer MSTTR for the second year. Our program is really consisting of two separate programs. One is called the Small Business Innovation Research Program. That's the biggest portion of our budget. It requires that every agency that has a $100 million a year extramural budget, which is money that goes out of the agency, participate in SBIR. That there are there are 11 of us who participate in SBIR across the government agencies. It's a really great way to seed your innovation. It does not require a partner or a subcontractor with a university or a research institution, but you can partner under SBIR. For STTR, and that is what we're focused on here because it does require a partner with a U.S. Research Institute. There are 5 agencies that participate in STTR because only those agencies that have $1 billion or more dedicated to extramural are required to participate in the STTR program. It is really a great opportunity that we're trying to market a lot more because there are not a lot of folks that see this as an avenue for developing their technologies, but and therefore the competition is a little less because there's not as many folks that get involved. But we see it as a great opportunity to get some of that technology out of the research institutions into a collaboration with the small business and delivering to other government agencies as well as ours. Next slide. So our program at NASA, as Tori also showed, we have a vision and a mission. Our mission, of course, is to empower small businesses, primarily through partnerships with research institutes as well, to participate in NASA's technology and hopefully take those technologies to the benefit of the national economy. And we see that we have a vision of entrepreneurs being able to benefit no matter where you are and in your technology efforts, whether you're coming out of the university or starting fresh from as a small business. Next slide. Our program is pretty much three phases. The first phase is called the idea generation, and that is for SBIR and STTR. SBIR is a 6-month idea generation proposal that comes in and can be awarded for up to $150,000. STTR, we allow for 13 months. And again, that is because we recognize there needs to be the partnership between the small business and the research institute to participate there. Phase 2 is the prototype development phase. Right now, we offer awards up to $750K with the potential of going up in future solicitations. But both the SBIR and the STTR period of performance for phase 2 award is 24 months. Both opportunities allow for, well, I should say, phase 1, you can opt in for I-Corps. And I-Corps is a really unique opportunity developed out of the National Science Foundation, who looked at giving particular services to new companies who are trying to work with the government and understanding their customer discovery, doing customer discovery and understanding who they can sell their technology to. We also offer what is called technical and business assistance in phase 1 and 2. And those are a myriad of services that you can get from looking at maybe patenting your technology to marketing services to business development services around further making sure that those technologies that you develop out of phase 1 or phase 2 are better marketed towards your potential customer. Between the phase 2 and phase 3, we have at NASA called post-phase 2 opportunities. And those are really intended to bridge what we call the valley of death sometimes, and where your technology ends with that $750K in phase 2 to where it needs to go in order to be better infused into a commercial marketplace or into NASA. So we offer right now 3 different post-phase 2 opportunities, our phase 2Es, our phase 2 sequentials, and the acronym CCRPP, Commercial Civilian Readiness Pilot Program. And there are various, as listed there, over various number of performance periods. The last phase is phase 3, which is really non-SBIR funding, which is really where you want to get to. Because you have gone through a phase 1 and phase 2 in our program, you don't have to go through further competition for someone to take that technology and further develop it or look to utilize it within the government agency. And that could be any government agency, not just NASA. So the really benefit here is that once you've gone through this process with, say, NASA, and you have a technology that's very interesting to DOE or NSF or the Department of Defense, any one of those agencies can take your technology and further fund it with you, of course, to better meet their needs. So you've already reached or already gone through the competition needed to show that you are capable of developing the technology, and you are now ready to provide it to any government agency that's looking to be a part of that. Next slide. So why participate in STTR? Again, it is a great opportunity to align your university with entrepreneurs that are looking to provide solutions to the government agency. It's an access of funding that is far and wide, really one of the better ways to start to develop, because we don't take data rights. We don't take any technology. We have government purpose use of it, but you are free to develop it as you see the market demands out there are. It's an opportunity to get involved for a small business, to get involved understanding what is being created out of the research institutes. And it's absolutely a means for visibility with research institutes, with peer review publications. It really gives you an opportunity to combine as a small business and as a research institute to combine to better service what your technology developments might be, as well as what the government is looking for. And then we have a slew of enhancements for the small business. Their ability to align with the research institutes are invaluable. And we find that a lot of the small businesses who might partner with a research institute under STTR also find that they, even though they aren't required, they provide that same partnership under an SBIR. So it is very attractive. Next slide. This just gives you a snapshot of the most current awards that we have had, that we have announced. Our last phase 1 award was announced March 25th of 2021, where we provided over $45 million to 289 small businesses and 47 research institutes. We expect that our next phase 1 awards will be announced in the next month. I think we're planning that announcement in May for our next round of phase 1s. We did just announce also our phase 2 awards back in December, where we selected 20 proposals from 19 small businesses that were in partnership, of course, with research institutes for $15 million. And you can see both of those announcements on our website at sbir.nasa.gov. Next slide. Our solicitation is organized by focus areas, and these are where we try to align what NASA needs as closely to where the industry requirements are in various areas, so that if you are working in energy or power, you can go to focus area 2 and find across each one of our mission directorates what we are asking for, what subtopics align with that particular focus area. So it's an effort to help you navigate our solicitation and understand all the different mission directorates that might be looking for technologies that you have that you have interest in or capabilities in. And again, these focus areas can be found on our website under the solicitations tab. Next slide. Our program actually sits within one of those mission directorates, which is called Space Technology Mission Directorate. And that mission directorate is really unique in that it gives a lot of early stage opportunity to work with NASA. So we definitely encourage you to explore other opportunities within STMD. We are not the only program that is developing early stage technology. We we offer a full portfolio of programs that can help launch your technologies to the next level. It is primarily based around advancing technologies and capabilities that will get us to the moon and beyond. So I invite you to look at the website listed there below and explore some of the other opportunities that are offered within our mission directorate. Tom, let me invite you also to say a few words or remarks if you want to at this point, or if you rather wait until you and Rod's portion.
I'll just say that this is the second year of the program, and we learned as much about running the project as the companies learned about STTR and what it takes to do a successful program. So we've embedded those into this experience, and hopefully we had good success last year. Hopefully we can have even better success this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Janelle. So next slide, please. We're going to get into I would say the weeds of the opportunity. And Tom, feel free to jump in as needed. One of the things that we learned last year is there are many opportunities, and we wanted to make sure that we provided this additional opportunity because it's a learning process as a minority serving institution joins forces with a small business concern and determine what they may want to go forward with a commercialization opportunity. The key piece in this, and this is something that I know Tom will talk about, is unlike the traditional STTR or even SBIR, the funding goes to the small business. In this effort, the funding will go to the minority serving institution as they learn as a planning grant, and then they will partner with the small business. And we'll talk through some of that here. But this is the solicitation EONS 22, Appendix L. So when you go into our system, that's what you'll be looking for, but that link is here. So next slide. We'll talk through, these are some of the elements. This is not the entire piece of the solicitation, but these are the key points that you will see and have to respond to as you go through the solicitation process and the responses. So I'll just talk through these. Like I said, Tom, you can jump in as you need. The MSTTR research planning grants intended to bring MSI researchers and small business concerns together, hopefully maximizing the potential for long-term collaborations. The grants are intended to address challenges and barriers faced by research community, as well as developing community and collaborative opportunities with the small business concerns. At the end of this, our goal is for you, the small business concern, and the minority serving institution to respond to that larger opportunity that Janelle just mentioned. And while we're focused on STTR, because the Research Institute has to be a part of that, SBIR is just as important because some topics may or may not fit directly with the work you want to do, but there may be an opportunity for you as an MSI and a small business to respond to an SBIR as well. So we're going to focus on STTR, knowing that SBIRs are also an opportunity. Next slide. Also, what you'll see are some of the goals of what we're doing here with MSTTR, expanding the nation's base of small business technology transfer, promote MSI participation. That's been a gap, and we want to grow that participation in the efforts. Strengthen partnerships with faculty, researchers, and students, doing work with the small business communities, and then establish long-term opportunities within those communities as well. What we found is there's separation between the universities and the small businesses, and there needs to be a better opportunity to bring those folks together. We think this does that, although there's a short period of performance. One of the responses has to be a partnership with a small business and the sharing of dollars with that small business. So that's why this effort's happening. Next slide. As we go through the slides, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will get to those questions, after we're done with the presentation. And if some of those need to be answered immediately, then please stop me or Gretchen if you need me. But this program is addressing agency needs and goals for not only SBIR, STTR, but also for the MUREP program. You'll see some of these strategic objective 3.1 as well as strategic objective 4.1. Tom, please let me know if you want to talk through these. For MSTTR, we want to develop technology and revolutionary technologies that engage and enable exploration and capabilities for NASA, as well as engage in partnership strategies to ensure that you're working together in a collaborative manner. And we supply subject matter expertise that will help you explore and expand the relationship. Next slide. Sorry, I'm struggling a little bit here to breathe. This shows some of our strategic goals and objectives within our Office of STEM Engagement, reaching NASA strategic goal number 3, as well as strategic objective 3.3, and that's inspiring the next generation of students and explorers within our STEM learning opportunities, as well as addressing any national challenges that help with economic growth. And that is exactly what the STTR program is enabling. Next slide. Some strategic goals additionally for Office of STEM Engagement, Education Performance Goal 3.3.3, as well as 3.3.4. What we want you to do is also include your students in the work that's happening so that they may explore and support NASA's missions as well. Next slide. So as you think about your proposals and the alignment of proposals, we do have some links here where the proposals here clearly and concisely describe the relevance of the proposed work. There are some strategic goals, and there's a link there that you'll see. These are things that are also in the solicitation. You can click through as you're learning and reading. And then you can also research what the Space Technology Mission Directorate and NASA's campaigns, such as the Artemis program, referencing those and connecting those to larger objectives within NASA would be also key in the relevance of the proposed work. Next slide, please. Okay, so Gretchen, I got your message. So if you are going to lose power, just let me know and I will start sharing my screen. So no problem. Relevance to the institution, STTR goals and objectives, increasing the ability of research leadership. At the lead institution, we'll talk about what the lead means compared to the other partners to enhance research and in its capacity at that university. And then the proposal will also demonstrate the proposed project's significant elements of the lead institution's long and short-term STEM research plans, interests, and capabilities. So how will the project be base level resources? How will you use the dollars for the work that you are saying that you want to do? And then also the proposed reference elements will talk about the department, the university's strategic partners, research priorities, and other pertinent university opportunities and documentation. Next slide. So as we talk about the period of performance, I think we mentioned that this is a 4-month planning grant. So within those 4 months, we want you to be able to not only respond, but then also to work with your small business partner and your other partners in order to create an opportunity that may help you go to the next level from an STTR standpoint. We've even tried to time the opportunity so that it ends near the next opportunity from a larger STTR standpoint, which generally comes out in the January time period. For successful proposers in our planning grant, this is what we're calling cohort 2. The funding opportunity, similar to last year, will not exceed $50,000 per university team. Next slide. Okay, so as you're thinking about, how are we going to rate what the opportunities are? This gives you some of the things. Once again, these are things that are inside of the solicitation, but we'll just give you some of the elements and factors that we're going to be rating successful proposers by. The first is scientific and technical merit and feasibility, which is most of the grading, 50%. Factor 2, experience, qualification, and facilities of the team, 25%. And then factor 3, price reasonableness, which is 25%. Tom, I didn't know if you wanted to jump in there for any of this. If you do, just please.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Okay.
This is probably a good time. So I've been on the rubber chicken circuit and have been lots of different workshops and opportunities and everything else. And had the opportunity to talk to a lot of researchers in the back of the room, drinking the coffee and eating the stale donuts. And the kind of barriers that I've had the experience with are, hey, I'm real busy and I have to teach classes. And so I don't really have money to do this. Or, well, I don't know any small businesses. What small businesses are out there, that I can even partner with? Oh, I don't know what NASA needs. Well, that's the whole idea behind the creation of this program, where if the first is making money available and making this be a real project within your university. That it's real, it's recognized, there's money attached to it. It's obviously it's going to be important. It's important to NASA, and they're stepping up. Last year was over $500,000 of this program, and so it's important. Um, Here's an opportunity for me to develop a relationship with a small business. I'm going to bring them in as a subcontractor, and we can develop this relationship, and we can kind of go through this exploration process, discovery process to figure out how we could work together. And then finally is, as NASA, we can provide technical assistance to you. We give you feedback on your project, and we can help kick the tires on it and say, really where we think this fits and what's already been done, and really calibrate what would be your phase 1 proposal in the spring. And so as you read through this, if you have proposed to an STTR before, you'll notice that the review criteria in the proposal and everything else is structured just like the STTR. We're doing as much as we can to lead the witness. We're trying to lead you. We're trying to prepare you. These are the same questions that we're going to ask again the next spring, and hopefully in a proposal. And so on this thing is the MSTTR. It's led by the research institution. And so you want to find a small business concern that you can work with, that you've got a mutually beneficial relationship. Because when it comes to the phase 1 proposal will come from the small business. So, pick somebody you can work with. Pick somebody you've got a relationship with and you got a lot of trust with, and you've got mutual interest in objectives. And so hopefully we can go through this 4-month planning process and really prepare you where you can have a very solid proposal that we can select in the spring. And so that's the gist of the whole opportunity here. So we're really hoping to get to know you, get to know your projects, and be able to lay out a research plan that really is going to help NASA, solve a problem and actually helps a small business, get in the marketplace.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Just hang around because I know we're going to have some more dialogue around those things. Next slide, we'll just talk about the rating and what's expected as a part of it. So that 50%, which is a scientific, technical merit and feasibility, it's really how you describe what your innovative and feasible technical approach will be. Your approach, your objectives, your plans for developing and verifying the innovation. You'll be able to describe that in a very clear manner. What problem are you going to solve? So those are the things that are going to be looked at and rated the most heavy for here. So that you need to be able to clearly demonstrate what you're going to do with that technology. Next slide. Factor 2, which is experience, qualifications, and facilities. And that's, the capabilities and experience of the principal investigator, which will come from the minority serving institution, the project manager, key personnel, staff, consultants, subcontractors, as well as any small businesses will be evaluated based on how they fit into the project and their level of support. Next slide. And then thirdly, price reasonableness. So we're going to look at, what you're saying things cost, and then understand based on that information whether they fit within the opportunity that you are presenting. And in this instance, I want to just say this because I know there was another project out there. Cost sharing is not required and will not be rated in this portion of the solicitation. So that's 50%, 25, 25, that's 100%. Obviously, you're going to try to get 100% in order to be a successful proposer. Next slide. And I think I did see some questions in there. I'll get through this as quick as I can. Principal investigator, every institution will have identify a single individual who is the PI. I'll say that again. Every institution will submit one single individual who will be the PI. And then the PI will meet all the criteria for that. It'll be a 10-year track or tenured, or, which is different, leading innovation member of that lead institution. So that's an opportunity that opens it up to more innovative folks that may be on the campus, in your innovation and entrepreneurship center or other locations, to be able to be the PI in here in this particular opportunity. Next slide. Proposing institutions. The lead institution must be a minority serving institution. You are able to look in that link that is also in the solicitation to see if your school is indeed on that list of MSIs that are able to propose and lead this particular project. Next slide. Funding guidelines. Obviously, the funding is subject to availability of funds. We are hoping to select 8 to 10 proposals for cohort 2, up to $50,000. And within that, as I mentioned, within that, the MSI, who is the lead institution, shall not receive less than 50% of the proposed budget, which is very key in your responding to the budgetary portion of that. Next slide. Just as a summary, expected budget about $500,000, $500,000. A number of awards, 8 to 10 awards. The duration of the period of performance is 4 months. This is a grant. The point of contact within the MUREP program, that is me. And then selecting official will be Tori Johnson. And I will make sure that I provide information. This is actually co-led with the STTR group. So Tom Stanley is my partner in this effort. Next slide. Here's some key information. These are links that you will see within the actual solicitation as well, so you can hit on those. And it's really the grants proposer information, the manuals for how you respond to grants and proposals. That's also on the nasa.gov website. Next slide. For frequently asked questions, so even some of the questions that you may ask here today, we're going to continuously add any questions and responses to our frequently asked questions FAQs document, which will also be on Inspires on the landing page for this particular opportunity. And please understand that this opportunity is for fiscal year 22. There was one for FY21, which is different. So make sure you're using the links here or using the FY22 solicitation link. Next slide. Referring requirements within 30 days after your award. You'll submit a descriptive project summary, which highlights key details of the collaboration with your small business partner. Submit a projected implementation chart, summarizes the major activities, and then your research management team and guidance. So these will all be instructed in the solicitation of what you'll need to respond to. Next slide. Here are some more reporting requirements within 30 days of the expiration of the project. These are some things that we'll be looking for. And remember, throughout this process, you'll have access to subject matter experts based on the particular topic that you select. And we're going to give you a list of those topics that are here. The STTR 2022 project solicitation, that link there, will give you 15 projects that you have. They were embedded in the FY22 solicitation for STTR. That will be your guide to the topics that you will respond to in this particular solicitation. So there will be an opportunity for you to check a box based on that topic, and you'll create your proposal responses based on that particular topic. Next slide. Okay, next slide. And then, this is recap. We're here today, April 21st. Proposals are due May 23rd of 2022. So please know that's coming up next month. So it's a little over 30 days from now, 32 days from now. Selection will be made approximately 6 weeks from the proposal due date, and then we will give you awards within 2 to 3 months from the proposal due date. Our projected start date is on or before October 11th. So that's an estimated date. Please understand we will try to get through the selection process as soon as possible so that you can get to working as soon as possible. Next slide. For additional information, once the activities should be directed to the activity lead, which is myself, so you'll be able to see any responses or questions in the next slide. I think it's the next slide. There's an email address that will give you an opportunity to present. Actually, it's in the next slide. So we want to make sure that if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you're able to send that in, and especially questions, and we'll add those to the frequently asked questions within a timely manner. We know this is rapid fire and you have a delivery by May 23rd, so we'll try to get you all the information back, very quickly. Okay, so that's me. That's the link there. You'll also see that in the solicitation for any questions. Next slide. Okay. Next, I'm going to bring up Morris Hicks. He's Senior Grant Officer. Morris, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Within our NASA Shared Services Center. If you are not speaking, please mute your mic. Thank you so much. Morris, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Morris Hicks. I'm sorry I had to call in. I didn't have audio. But my name is Morris Hicks. I'm a senior grant officer here at NSSC, and I would like to just talk to you about the overall grant administration overview. Next slide. So here is just a list of everyone here at NSSC that will be involved in this program. Here at NSSC, there are 3 divisions in procurement. You have Simplify Acquisitions. You also have Procurement Ops, and you have Research Activities Branch. Research Activities Branch handles SBIRs, STTRs, and also grants and cooperative agreements. Next slide. And this is kind of a organizational chart here, just showing you how we kind of fall. Here at NSSC, the grant officers and contracting officers, we wear dual hats. If we're dealing with SBIRs, STTRs, we're contracting officers. But if we're dealing with grants and cooperative agreements, we're grant officers. Next slide. So here's a big overall view example of a grant life cycle. So in the beginning, if you look at block 1, it says NASA Center /HQ. So the solicitations are for proposals are being published, and as you see, each block it kind of represents who has something for action. So the next block will be recipient. You have to submit your proposals, and then once you submit your proposals, NASA will review the proposals and select who will be awarded these STTRs. And so once the selection is completed, then all the package will be sent to NSSC, and that's where we get started here at NSSC, where we get started and do our portion of the grant. And so this kind of continues out. This chart here is from cradle to grave. But something I do want to mention to you guys, so that you're aware of, is that if you don't have access to PMS system, please get that. This is where you would draw down your funding. So if you do not have access to this, I would start going ahead and reaching out to PMS management system and they will get you all set up so that way you won't have any issues once your grants are in place, and that way you won't have any issues as far as withdrawing down your funding. Next slide. So Inspires, I believe someone's going to talk about Inspires, but I will say this: all NOFOs are posted at Inspires and also on grants.gov. If you ever need any assistance with Inspires, there's a help desk number here, and also a link and a phone number to be able to assist you. Next slide. So here's the NSS process, kind of like the meat and potatoes of what we'll be going through with these specific packages once they've been selected by NASA HQ. And so the first block is just showing you the technical requirements package and what we call here at NSSC just a completed package. So once we have a completed package and the PR, we'll start processing it. And so we'll match the PR with the completed package. And then we'll also go out there and make sure there's no duplicate work, issue a grant number or a cooperative agreement number, and then assign the package to a prep team when they'll start reviewing the package and getting everything in order for the grant officer. And then here's something very important that I really want to just hit on for a quick second. Notifications sent out. Realize we started this program for the first time last year, and some lessons learned was when that notification is sent out, it's actually letting you know the start date. Right now, we have a tentative start date, looks like an October timeframe. When that email comes out from NSSC, it will provide you with the start date. Now, mind you, you can start work on that day just because you received a letter from NSSC saying, hey, you're authorized to start work. Please be mindful that you may not actually receive your signed grant or cooperative agreement for maybe several weeks down the road, but you are authorized to start work. And if you have any questions with your institutions, you can always reach out to me and I can speak with them, email them, or however we need to clear things up. But I know last year we had a lot of issues with when the start date actually was. So again, when those notifications are sent out, please be mindful of them because it will have your start date on there as well. Next slide. Communication is a key. Anytime you want to communicate, make sure you always have the award number in the subject line or the proposal number if you don't have the award number right away. But it's important that way. It helps us out and also with the technical officer as well. So when we know exactly what we're looking at. And so just communication is very important. So make sure that we are trying to do that the best way we can. Next slide. So here's an example of NF 1687. This would be like the signed cooperative grant or cooperative agreement that you will receive. All the blocks are pretty self-explanatory, but I do want to show you block 10 down here, which is kind of important for you guys. These will all be fully funded. So 10A will tell you the amount of the award. 10B will tell you exactly how much is obligated. You'll see that money is obligated. In 10B, that's the funding that's automatically once the cooperative agreement or the grant is signed, that's available to you in PMS. Next slide. So here at the bottom, at the top part of page 1, the bottom section of it, it talks about, it kind of gives you an example of what the technical officer would be. The administrator, the grant administrator, and then anytime you had any issues with your payments or whatever, you can always contact the contact center. But also, I wanted to just to show you at the bottom of the second page, the top of the second page on the slide is the grant officer that signed it. That grant officer is the one who reviewed it and signed it. He or she may not be the person, your point of contact. But if you look back up on the top portion of the page, it says administrator, and this example has Libby Romagera. She wouldn't be your point of contact, but this is who you would contact if you had any questions, not the person that actually signed the grant, because we have here at NSSC, we're broken into 2 groups in the research activities branch. We have an award team and then also administrative team. Next slide. And here, just kind of a better picture of showing you the administrators will be your point of contact once the grant or cooperative agreement is awarded, and then the person signing will be the grant officer. Next slide. Here are some references for you for guidance. The 2 CFR Part 200, the 2 CFR Part 1800, and also the GCAM. These links right here will take you directly to those areas, and it's very mindful to read up and review this information for your knowledge. Next slide. So once these STTRs are awarded, there are some things that the recipient, there's some roles that the recipient must do. And here's just an example of some of them. Like, obviously, you want to complete the proposed work, send your reports in a timely manner, draw down your funds for expenses as they incur. Do not wait till the last minute to draw down your funds from the PMS system. As soon as you need the money, please draw down that money immediately. You also be prepared to obtain a single audit. In this situation with these certain grants, it's under the 750, so it does not apply, not unless you have other grants and it totals up to $750,000. And also just comply with the 2 CFR Part 200 cost principles. Next slide. Also, any type of changes that you would like to make to these MSTTRs, you want to go through the technical office for concurrence. It's very important. Then the grant officer, once he or she meets with the technical officer, will come to the decision to either approve it or disapprove it. And then some prime examples would be changes in work, key personnel, any type of budget changes. You want to make sure that you're in communication with the technical officer and the grant officer throughout the process of the time through the grant. And also, I don't believe these will be applicable, but no cost extensions. If you ever need to submit one, this would be the link you could go to provide a no cost extension. Next slide. So the roles for as a technical officer, they're going to be reviewing all the reports and final reports, provide concurrence. The key word there is concurrence. The technical officer are not in a position to approve. That will be the grant officer or the administrative grant officer as far as approvals, but the TO can provide their concurrence on things like PI changes, PI transfers, budget reallocations if you need to move some money around, no cost extensions, which I believe is not applicable to these grants, and change of scope, these type of things where the technical officer can get their concurrence. Next slide. This slide is kind of letting you know kind of what I just iterated is that technical officers are not in a position to approve additional work outside the general scope. Any type of approval will have to come from the grant officer. Next slide. As administrative grant officer, it would be to award supplements if there's any changes and modifications that need to be made to the grant. Maybe there's an error in who the PI is or phone number is incorrect, email address. We will process a supplement. In contracts, they call them modifications, but in grants, we call them supplements. If we're adding funding for some reason to a grant, then or any type of extensions, we would do that, do those actions. Also, no cost extensions like we talked about earlier, PI transfers. We also approve all the budget reallocations, any statement of work changes or key personnel changes. And also, we also review for single audit readiness as well. Next slide. So anytime you have equipment costs over $5,000 and it wasn't originally proposed, you need to get a prior approval from the grant officer for that. But obviously, you would go through the technical officer as well for concurrence. Foreign travel that wasn't proposed. Obviously, I don't believe these will have any of that. but just wanted to give you some information about that. Changes in scope, changes in personnel, and also any absence for anyone working less than 3 months or 25% in time by the PI. Next slide. Progress reports. Progress reports are due 60 days prior to the anniversary date. With these having a very short period time frame of progress reports, these some of these numbers will not be applied to them. But just want to just kind of give you some information so that way you'll know. So progress reports are our annual report due 60 days on the anniversary date, and also the SF 425 is a quarterly report, and that's your financial records. And you would basically you would submit all the information for the SF 425 in the payment management system. Next slide. When you receive your signed cooperative agreement, towards the bottom of your papers, the file that you will receive, it will tell you your final reports, and it also gives you the due date in the second column, report due. You know, it has to be submitted within 120 days. It also tells you who it's going to go to. In this situation, for the property certified financial, your SF 425 will go to the financial officer and also the grant officer. So it tells you who you need to send it to, and it also tells you how long you have to submit that report. Next slide. So this is kind of giving an example of when I said we were talking about earlier about anniversary date. If you kind of look at the little on the right-hand side where it says example, so your anniversary date. So say the cooperative agreement or grant was signed on May the 16th, then your progress report would be due 60 days prior, which will make that March the 16th. And so 90 days prior to anniversary date, we will start sending out reminders to let you know that your progress report is coming due. And 1 week after your report is due and you have not received it, we will start sending out notices to let you reminders to let you know that we have not received your progress report. Next slide. Here's some abbreviations that you may see in the GCAM when you're reading it, or any abbreviations that you may not have known throughout this presentation so far. So this is just for your information. Next slide. And if you have any questions, you feel free to contact me directly, or you can call our help desk here, and this is the phone number, or give us send an email to the contact center, and they will be able to answer your questions or forward it up to a grant officer to answer all the questions that you may have. Next slide.
Okay, thank you, Morris. So we are going to keep moving through. Beata, did you want to say something? We're going to still try to finish, within that 90-minute time frame. There are some questions in the chat. Tom, you want to take a couple of questions now? I do hear an echo.
Yeah, we can try.
Okay. All right. So here's one. I answered a couple inside of the chat. This one I think will be good just as a discussion piece real fast. So can a startup company by the PI be the partner?
Yeah, I actually looked at our F&Ts from last year, and
Yeah.
so I can get her. The question from last year was, would a faculty member as a lead MSI who owns a small business be eligible to partner with their MSI under a different PI to put forth a proposal? The answer is no. Faculty member at a lead MSI shall not partner with a small business concern in which the faculty member has a financial interest. This would give rise to a conflict in that the faculty member would be in a position to receive double compensation award, both as a faculty member of the MSI and as the owner of the partnering SBC. NASA also has a concern that the faculty member would not be able to be objective if, for example, performance issues arose with the SBC under the award. So.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Let's take a second one. What are the major areas of research under MSTTR program?
There are say a number. I'm going to say the wrong number.
I think it's 15. I think it's 15.
So you want to check out the SBIR website. Yeah, there are 17 subtopics. That's what I thought. They're in, if you look under sbir.nasa.gov, those subtopics are there. Let's see. I can post them in the chat. If that come out. Yeah. You'll want to look at the solicitation from 22, and there's a separate solicitation for SBIR and STTR. So you want to look at the STTR solicitation, and just those 17 subtopics are there. It gives a really nice write-up of what the technical challenges are, and what the items being needed are, and so. So you want to read that narrative and try to figure out, what's your best opportunity to align your technology, with a NASA need.
Okay, great. We'll do one more because that answered 2 questions. Thanks, Tom. Does the funds for the planning grant go mostly toward travel and logistics for the meetings with the small business?
We would like to see a strong relationship develop between the MSI and the business. And so we would foresee the need for, substantial conversations. And so those can be on campus or at the small business. And, certainly we would not be surprised to have some travel included with that. But we really want to see development of the particular NASA need, discussion about the technology being developed and its role in the NASA mission and what missions it would support, how it would help us, solve the problem being proposed. We would like to see the roles and responsibilities, what the MSI contribution is going to be and what the small business needs are. And then ultimately, what's the commercial opportunity for this? These are all things that are in the evaluation criteria, that when I advise small businesses, I tell them we want dinner and a movie. We want the whole story. So tell us what the technology is. Tell us how NASA can use that technology. Tell us why we can't live without it. Tell us why, make us understand that you understand the technical challenges along with developing that technology. Convince us you've got the best team on the planet to go develop that technology and how you're prepared, how you've got the facilities and capabilities. And then ultimately, what's the commercial market for this? Because we'd like to be, one day we'd like to just be a consumer of this. Like we don't develop computers. The commercial marketplace develops computers and we buy computers. Well, one day we'd like to buy this as a commodity. And so, yeah, tell us that whole story,
Okay, let's see. We probably aren't going to be able to get to all of these, so we'll answer those in the FAQs. Let's see. Focus areas. Can the focus areas mentioned in SBIR be addressed in the MSTTR, or should it be limited to focus on STTR only?
just STTR. And there's two reasons for that. One is that's where the funds come from.
Yep.
So that's where the funding coming from. The other thing is STTR requires the use of the research institution. And so we're trying to formulate these teams that would stay together. So in the next spring, they could propose. Now the 23 solicitation is a new opportunity. And suddenly you have suddenly you discover you don't really fit real well within STTR. Certainly we'd encourage you to propose to SBIR. But yeah, the purpose of this exercise is, focus around the STTR opportunity.
Okay, we'll take one more. Since I work at one school and I'm affiliated with another school, can I submit two MSTTRs with the same small business for two different projects?
I think you'd have to have two different PIs. You could probably be on two different
That's
teams,
correct.
but you'd have to have different PIs.
That is correct. But a small business may have multiple partners.
Yes, there's no limit on small business.
That's correct.
They
Yep.
could participate on many projects as they have appetite for.
Yes. I think that's all I see.
The one question is we haven't even begun thinking about the 23 solicitation. We're still doing phase 1 proposal evaluations for the 22. And so, yeah, there's no guarantee that the same topics from 22 will be in the 23 solicitation. What I would say is our requirements are generally evolutionary. They don't change very much from year to year. And there's normally, if one opportunity closes, there's normally another opportunity out there. But, they're fairly static. They don't change a whole bunch. And then, and there's always a receptacle. SBIR is a much bigger pot. And so there's always opportunities in SBIR. What I find is if you put your NASA hat on and think of yourself as a NASA scientist or a NASA researcher, and think about how you can take the technology you have and make it relevant to a NASA project, you can virtually always find an opportunity to propose to. The bigger thing is this is a capture process, just like any other capture process. So you want to put your best story together. Why we can't live without this, and how this is really going to satisfy our needs is going to really, be a something that we can't live without. So.
Okay, I was trying to see if there's something in here that is not. Okay, all right, so we only have maybe 12 minutes left. So any other questions that need to be responded to, we will drop into the FAQs, and it'll allow everyone to see those. So we'll try to get those answered by Monday. Beata, are you prepared to talk inspires and process?
Sure.
Okay, floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. So next slide. So you have all these wonderful ideas, and now let's talk about how to incorporate these ideas to the NASA system where all the proposers submit to. So all proposals must be submitted electronically via the NASA solicitation and proposal integrated review and evaluation system, more conveniently referred as Inspires. All proposal members must have an active account in Inspires. The image to the right shows the Inspires homepage. So there are two places on the screen to point out. The first one is where you go to create an account, which is done by clicking on the blue rectangle in the upper right-hand corner. After you have finished going through the steps to creating an account, you will receive an email with instructions on how to complete the process. This final step is actually how your account becomes active. So don't miss it. If you don't see it in your email, in your inbox, please check your spam folder and trash folder. And if it's not found there, please contact Inspire's help desk so they can help you figure out what's going on. The other important area I want you to point out is the help link on this homepage. Not only is this where you find user guides and other helpful resources, it also includes an FAQ and information on how to reach the Inspire's help desk. They are open every day from 8 to 6 Eastern Time, except weekends and federal holidays. So be mindful about that. Always remember that the help desk should be your first line of defense if you encounter any difficulty maneuvering through the system. And please note that they are not tasked with addressing solicitation or programmatic concerns, but they are phenomenal with diagnosing and solving issues with the Inspire system. Next slide, please. I'll just going to be brief about that. Basically, all persons playing a significant part in the proposal must be registered in Inspires. That includes PI and team members. If possible, make sure to start that registration as soon as possible. Worthy mentioning is that proposals are submitted by the AOR, Authorized Organization Representative, and it's usually a different person than a PI. So make sure to know who that person is. Next slide. Speaking of submitting a proposal, along with the requirement of having an active registration in Inspires, your organization may also need a DUNS number, valid registrations with SAM, and a CAGE code. So again, as a organization, make sure to have all this answered ahead of time, as it takes from 3 to 4 business days to 4 weeks to get all the stamps approval valid. Just be aware and plan accordingly. Next slide. Proposal compliance with regard to NASA Proposers Guidebook has been already discussed. So the most important thing to take from this slide is not to wait until the last minute to start your proposal. You don't have to submit in one sitting. You can just start so we can monitor, make sure that you are in queue and we are aware of that. Technology is our friend, but there's always the risk of something going wrong when it's at least convenient. Remember that deadline for the proposals is Monday, May 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. The help desk closes at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, so don't wait until the last moment. Next slide. Again, one more time, I want to draw your attention to the availability of help desk. Listed here are specific ways how to reach them. This presentation and will be posted on Inspires, the MSTTR solicitation landing page, along with the recording, and that will be done by tomorrow. As mentioned before, there's also a designated email account available for your programmatic inquiries at nasamsttr@nasaprs.com. We'll make sure to list it in that presentation doc. And that's all I have to share with you. Like all that have spoken before me, I would like to thank you for joining this call. So, Rod, we have a few more minutes if we want to take any other questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Beata. And thanks, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for speaking. Let's take a couple more. Yes. And once again, we'll have this recording there. So if you missed, okay, question. You cannot be the PI from the institution and the small business owner. I see a question in there about that. Does this Beata, I think this may be for you, does a small business partner require a DUNS and Inspire account?
And that's a really good question. Let's address it in the FAQ when we post it.
Okay, we can do that. All right, let's see. Shall the planning proposal include a lot of R&D activities? Tom, do you want that one?
Well, the planning proposal, you're going to present what your concept is. If your concept is going to require, we're not expecting you in the planning proposal, in the planning grant, we're not expecting you to actually do the work. The work would be performed in the STTR. What we are interested in is that you understand what the major risks are. And if there's risks that need to be retired or risks that you need to address, so you can put forth a competent phase one proposal, we would see some R&D involved in that. But really, we're looking for the idea creation, the developing the NASA relevance, the developing the teaming arrangements, looking for synergies between the small business concern and the MSI and that opportunity, looking at what the commercial opportunity are, essentially gathering all the information you're going to need to put together the very best phase one proposal that you can. And the phase one activity is where you'll actually retire those risks and you actually do that research and you'll actually perform those tasks. But we would foresee some level, but not necessarily, I wouldn't expect to see a whole bunch, especially with a small amount of funds that we have available.
Okay, thank you so much, Tom. Thanks, Beata. Thanks, Janelle. Thank you, Tori. Did I miss anyone? And Morris for joining us. Any other questions we will answer within the FAQs. And if you have any questions, there also is an email address in the presentation. That email address is also in the solicitation. Feel free to reach out with any more questions or comments, and we'll get back responses to you. Okay, so we're going to end the call. And thank you, everyone, for joining. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to seeing submissions from you and your partner institutions and small businesses. Thank you.